50 kilometres off the northwest coast of Scotland lies the island chain known as the Outer Hebrides. The barren landscape in the south is best suited to cattle and sheep breeding, while in the north, the world-famous Harris Tweed is made. The rough Atlantic climate has ensured the Outer Hebrides remain sparsely populated. This is Gaelic country, shaped by traditional Scottish culture and cuisine: fish, meat, and oatcakes. The MacDonald family have been breeding Scottish Highland cattle for generations. Last year, Angus was able to buy a neighbouring deserted island, something he's been dreaming of for years. Here, his cattle can roam about undisturbed, and today he's herding 400 young bulls to the island. It's uninhabited and can only be reached during low tide. Here, he doesn't have to worry about leaving the animals by themselves. His son Fraser has just finished school, but has been working with the animals for years.
They love it here. It's ideal for keeping cattle in the winter, because the ground is quite dry, plenty shelter, and plenty food to eat. So it's ideal to keep stock for winter especially.
Yeah, no matter how wet the winter is, there's no mud. It's always dry. There's always a dry bed somewhere for the cattle.
You'll always find a dry bed.
The young bulls get to enjoy the remote freedom for 3.5 years before they're slaughtered. They only see Angus every few days, when they're herded to the mainland, or they have to undergo their obligatory immunisations. The animals have been rounded up so the farmers can make sure that each of them receive their shots. The cattle are not naturally aggressive, but the men need to be careful when the animals are confined to smaller spaces.
Well, yeah, you have to be careful and aware of what's going on around you. But don't show any fear or they sense it. That's the biggest mistake people can make. Otherwise, they wouldn't play ball at all. They'll do everything to annoy you.
Their shaggy coat also gets a treatment against lice. The family home lies a few miles away. Grandmother Ina is collecting turf to burn for the heating. Her daughter-in-law Michelle lives directly opposite. Whilst Angus is tending to the animals, she needs to take care of the paperwork. But this morning, she's on the hunt for a scrap of family history.
That's a barrow full. Do you want me to move it to the door for you?
Oh, well, I suppose you could.
I was wondering as well, do you have that recipe book?
Oh, yes, I think I know where it is.
You know where it is?
Yeah, I'll get it for you.
Okay, I'll move this in there.
The small recipe book used to belong to Ina's mother. Of course, it's possible to buy oatcakes in the supermarket, but the homemade ones just taste better. First, Michelle weighs out 225 grams of fine oat flour, adds a pinch of salt and some baking powder. 6 tablespoons of molten lard and hot water are then added. Michelle wasn't born in the Hebrides, and when she first moved here, she was ill-prepared for what the remote island had in store.
In the beginning, well, I was madly in love, so you don't think about that at the time, do you? But when I first came here, the first winter I had 3 weeks. I could not go out of the house. The wind was that bad, and it was frightening. I mean, very frightening. And I did think, you know, I've come to this God-forsaken island. What am I doing living here? I must be mad. It was very, very difficult to begin with.
25 years on, she's very much the hardened local. The oatcakes are cut out with a whiskey glass and go into the oven for 25 minutes. Earnings from cattle farming alone are not enough to support the whole family, so Angus is always looking for new sources of income. One of them is road building and construction. His son Fraser is in charge of a site. North Uist has a population of around 1,000. A lot of people have more than one job, as construction work alone would never be enough to make it on such a small island. This old house was entirely derelict, and Angus is making sure Fraser has everything under control.
He might be young, but he's worked with me for a very long time. He's worked since he was about 7 years of age. He's gone everywhere with me. He's always watched and worked, and he's been learning all the time.
I could go away if I want to, but to be honest, I'd rather stay here and work. Because if I went to uni, I would be out partying every night and I wouldn't do any work anyway. So far better being here working.
Plenty work here and no parties.
Yeah.
Good solid stay. Won't make a noise when you have to build this one.
Fraser's sisters go to university in England, as do most of his former classmates. But Fraser loves the island and wants to make a life for himself on the Outer Hebrides. A perfectly understandable decision when the sun comes out. The 5,000 kilometers of undisturbed ocean reaches over to the coast of America and makes the Outer Hebrides one of the best places to catch the finest fish. Like all the islanders, Michelle has the advantage of buying the fish directly at source. Today, she's looking for fresh scallops to make for lunch.
Yes, fine, thank you.
Yes, please.
Brilliant, you've got the scallops, that's
Yes.
great. Can I take all of those, please, if that's all right?
Yes, will be £10 for all of it, yeah?
Fantastic, yes,
Okay.
that's, just take those. That'll do.
After farming, fishing is the mainstay of employment on the island.
Thank you very much.
This is where the fishing fleet set off to the still abundant waters of the northern Atlantic.
Thank you, I'll let you know how I get on.
Have a good day. Okay, bye.
Whilst father and son are busy, Michelle's friend is on the farm to help prepare the scallops. They need to be opened, and here the shells can just be left on the beach. Opening or shucking the scallops is done by running a knife along the flat half of the shell. This side is then opened up.
Nice raw news, me for shelter.
They're quite slimy and slippery.
Yeah.
There we go. And then
With
we can
scissors
put it
or a
right
knife, the excess meat is carefully removed and the closing muscle is cut off. The orange part of the scallop is the ovary and also considered a delicacy.
It's just the guts.
Yeah, perfect. I think the worst bit actually is cutting away the guts because you're so worried you're going to damage the meat because it won't look nice if you make a mistake. Because that is quite delicate in the middle there.
The freshly prepared scallops are then heated together with the frying bacon in the pan. The only flavouring they need is a little salt and pepper.
Oh, good, you're there.
Ah,
Yeah, how's it looking? How are they doing?
They look really nice.
How much longer do you think?
Smell lovely. Another couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes.
2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah. Very good.
Here you go, lunch at last.
Oh,
You
that's
must
good.
be ready for this.
Yeah, with a busy morning with the cattle. Oh, that's lovely.
And the
The
bull-
smells of the sea.
Yeah,
It's delicious.
Scallops are traditionally eaten by themselves. A small portion in a restaurant can cost up to €20. In the Hebrides, there's plenty for everyone to go around.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Michelle serves them with her homemade oatcakes.
Today, I take it, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes, they were. 240.
Even at the age of 72, Ina is no less passionate about caring for the cattle, especially the new ones. She knows the traits and characters of every one of them.
always special at springtime on farms, new life appearing, and it's always special. It doesn't matter how many you have there. It's always nice. They might be big.
In addition to the work on the farm, she's also politically active. She's on the council for the Farming Alliance, the Scottish Crofting Federation. One of the farmers' biggest problems are the wild geese, 10,000 of which have settled on the island in recent years. The birds are under protection, so are difficult to get rid of. In the local shop, Ina is determined to start gathering signatures for subsidised goose hunting in the Hebrides. The farmers claim that the geese are not only eating the seeds from the fields, but that their droppings are ruining the grass that the cattle feed on.
I don't think there's enough shouting, especially politicians who go over to Brussels. They don't really, I don't think they don't really know the whole truth, because a lot of them are not practical farmers.
Once she's gathered enough support, Ina will send the signatures to one of the ministers in the Scottish Parliament. But before she can do that, she needs to do a little persuading.
Well, they're shooting.
Just shoot them, yeah.
They're shooting just now, but saying if you're a petition after my only
But she's an old local, and almost no one can resist her charms. It doesn't take long before she has all the signatures she can get for the day.
Right, see you. Okay, right, thanks, girls.
On the way home to the farm, there's a stop she has to make. Her youngest grandson needs picking up from the local school.
Hello there. You have to come into Granny's sleep. Hi, Donna. Hey.
Whilst Alexander is doing his Gaelic homework in the kitchen, his mother is peeling the potatoes for dinner.
That's great, Pet.
Today, Angus is preparing the meat, which is, of course, a roast from their own herd.
I'll eat anybody's cattle, I'll try any cattle, but I find it difficult to get better beef than this. This is organic as well, and it's grass-fed and slowly matured. It's not something that is only on the planet for 14 months and then killed in an abattoir. This is 3.5 years old, so it has had a good life as a beef animal.
How many more?
3.
And what does that mean? He wants to eat?
It means he wants to eat right now.
The roast goes into the oven for 3 hours. Just to be on the safe side, Angus makes sure there's plenty of turf. As a distraction before dinner, Fraser takes his little brother out to the field to show him how the potatoes they'll be eating that evening are grown. The type of field behind the dunes is unique to the Hebrides. It's the macher, a mixture of old moor and sand. So it retains fertility. It's fertilized with washed-up seaweed every spring.
This is the seaweed we've got to help grow the potatoes. So you put this seaweed into the ground and then we plant the potatoes. Well, this is sandy macher soil. So the seaweed's really good because it's got potash in it. And that helps balance out the nutrients to help the potatoes grow well, so they'll grow really well with seaweed.
In the meantime, their father is making sure that last year's potato harvest will be particularly tasty once it's on the table.
And can I show you the best potatoes in the world? They are growing on the machers of North Uist. on the macher land of North Uist, with seaweed for fertilizer.
This evening, Ina and a friend are tending to the cattle. They need to make sure the herd are all there and look out for any newborn calves.
Remember, we saw one over there on the road. 86, 87, 88, 89, 92.
Any new calf needs to be registered and marked. It's an important task that takes time.
She's a real pet. She was bottle fed. I like to help the family as much as possible. I know the cows have a bond towards me, and I know them, and I've got more time than Angus has to look at them closer, you know. Yeah, we worked out it would be about now. I think she should be over here. If not, we'll have to go to the other end.
By now, the MacDonalds have gathered in the kitchen and are ready for dinner. Angus's potatoes are roast to perfection. Even as far north as the Outer Hebrides, a good glass of red wine is much appreciated with the tender Highland cattle roast. The next morning brings strong winds that are whipping up the North Atlantic. Those who can stay at home. Storms like this can go on for days and sometimes even weeks. When the seas are this rough, the ferry service to the mainland can't run. The islands are completely cut off from the outside world. And it's today that Angus has asked his friend Rory to hunt some geese. Rory is one of the few people that has a license that allows him to shoot geese throughout the entire year. The animals are not stupid and know what threat the humans pose. Rory looks for targets from inside the car so his rifle goes unnoticed. But there are plenty of hiding places for the geese on the ground.
See, this is the problem. I was too slow there.
No. If you want, we can go somewhere else.
Yes, and come back and pick this one up later. There's a couple there. All right, you good? Yep. That's it, Jay. Off through the head. What a shot through. That's good. Stone dead, isn't it? Looks a good one.
Yes, right.
There's no predator to that bird. There's no predator at all. It can if it has 6 chicks, a good chance that the 6 chicks are going to be birds in a few months' time. If it's got 10 chicks, the 10 chicks more than likely will be out. There's nothing here but the odd eagle that'll take 1 or 2, and that's it.
Yeah.
Good for dinner, that one, I think.
Yeah. Nice, good chest.
Yes, 20 to eat there.
One less, Angus.
Ina is preparing a carrigan pudding. It's a local delicacy in the Hebrides and prepared with a rare seagrass carrigan instead of the usual gelatine.
This, you know, it's the real thing, and it's healthy. Got plenty minerals and things that your body full of iron, which is very important. Carried down from generations. That was the dessert. They didn't have to go and buy ice cream.
The seagrass can only be gathered in the spring months when the tide is particularly low. Exactly where it grows is one of the best kept secrets in the Hebrides. Only a few deeply traditional locals sell it, and only on personal request. Angus and Michelle have thought of another way to supplement their income. They want to get into the lucrative tourist sector and convert the ruins on the cattle island. Together with an architect, Michelle has developed some building plans.
3 bedrooms looking out to the sea. It was perfect.
And you tied in and nobody coming over to see you.
Fantastic.
You're there by yourself. And the wind howling around your ears.
There's still a little imagination needed, but the two are convinced that people from the big cities will yearn for an isolated island with no mobile reception.
We expect to see mainly mainland tourists and foreign tourists, people coming here, and especially people with artists' kind of ideas. Main artists, fantastic scenery. They could sit here and paint all day and not get disturbed.
They have an emotional attachment to this place. So a lot of them come in the summer and they come on holidays and they just walk over and look around. It would be lovely.
The unlucky goose has already been delivered into Ina's capable hands. Alexander is helping her pluck it. The small feathers can be burnt off over a gas flame.
Hopefully we'll get some more shooting done this autumn. Once I get a few thousand signatures. What are you going to be when you grow up?
Hunter.
A hunter. Are you going to enjoy the dinner?
No, because I'm going to the cinema.
That's a pity.
The plucked goose is placed into the turf-fueled oven for several hours. The weather has improved a little, so Fraser can start going about his daily tasks.
From her udder that the calf has been sucking her, so the calf's had milk, so the calf will be fine. Our calf's probably in that area, but we just can't see it. Because they hide them so well, they'll hide them in a small hole in the ground or somewhere.
In his June buggy, Fraser is looking for more newborns, as it's law that each new calf must be marked and accounted for. It's not that easy a task, as many mothers hide their calves and can be quite aggressive in the first few days after the birth. It was only yesterday that one of the cows charged Fraser.
I wouldn't really call it scared, because you're still in control of the situation. It's if you know they're going to get you, that's when you'll be scared. But I knew I could get away from her. I wasn't in danger, really. It was just, she just gave me a warning, and I took the warning and left. So that's how you catch the calves.
Back on the farm, Ina is enjoying a cup of tea whilst waiting for the goose to roast. Not a bad time to do some reading and catch up on the latest in the world of Highland cattle farming. In the evening, Angus and Michelle come by to enjoy the perfectly roast bird. Spring is a particularly busy time for the hard-working family. It's a treat that Ina has cooked such a special meal for all of them. fine food, bringing a few hours of peace and quiet from the storms outside.